Hi, welcome to the What If Wishes podcast. I'm Laurie Gibby, your host. So today I'm so excited that you're here. I am so excited to be getting back to my podcast. I know I kind of come and go, but my little guy was out of school for the summer, and I realized one of my stories is it's hard to get things done when he's around. And like I call it a story because we all have our stories and excuses for why we can't get something done, why something is hard for us, why something is holding us back. There's so many stories that we have to explain our reasoning, right? And it could be good reasoning or bad reasoning. So it could be good stories or bad stories. For me, though, I realized my story around him was I'm unable to get anything done when he's around, which is not a good story. And what I realized too is the need to shift my mindset away from that. And when I was more mindful about it, I was able to shift my mindset. And I was actually able to generate more time and generate getting things done the times that I noted I was mindful about it, I guess I could say. So when we talk about stories, so that's what I want to dive into today. I want to dive into talking about the stories that we have. And, just kind of looking into when you have an excuse for something, what is the story behind that? What is the story that you're giving for your reasoning of why you can or cannot accomplish something? And how can you change that? Because obviously, if it's a negative story, you want to shift it. A negative story is only going to limit what you can do. We all have so many infinite possibilities. And when we have the story that we're giving an excuse that we're holding ourselves back, we're just gonna get stuck and we're just gonna stay where we are. Whereas when you're able to shift out of that story and when you're able to what would I say? When you're able to rewrite the story, then you start generating the things that you would like to see happen. So in my case, it would be to rewrite the story and really mindfully practice the new story of I can also get things done when my son is around. And not even just that. It was also, I think, the story of I cannot get things done because I do not have time from watching him. And so what happened is the week that I was more mindful about it, I actually had someone who wanted to watch my son. He wound up wanting to go stay at his nana's, things like that, where it generated time for me to focus. And I got so much done during that time. And even like he had friends over that week too, which they played so well and I got so much done. So once I started shifting the story from I can't get anything done, I don't have enough time when he's here, once I shifted out of that into a story of it's possible to create while my son is here, or it's possible to have the time to get things done and spend time with him. And actually it was kind of more of since he was busy and I was busy, it was even more fun when we did spend time together because we hadn't seen each other. So we got to catch up. When you're around anyone 24/7, it gets, you get a little testy with each other sometimes. That's a story too, though. But anyway, so I want you to consider kind of like, what are some stories that you put out there that you might not even realize it? Well, you might not have realized it, but now that you're thinking about it, what are some stories that you've used in the past that are things you could shift so that, you can start believing in your possibilities? So one of the stories could be like, it's hard to make money when I live paycheck to paycheck, right? Let's say it's that. Or it's hard to make money because I can't catch a break. Things like that, And so your story around that is telling yourself it's hard to make money. But what if you started telling yourself the story that I can make money wherever I go? You just shift into a different format of it. And I don't really want to call it an affirmation per se, because and affirmations help rewrite these stories, but it's more of that you're teaching yourself something new. You're building that new muscle, which affirmations help with. But this is more of rewriting the story, rewriting how you perceive it. Affirmations are a tool to help rewrite that. But initially, what you want to do is become aware of what stories you tell yourself and become aware of how you apply them in your life, and then bust through them. You want to bust them on out of here, because once you start dropping those stories of why you can't do something or what's holding you back or what's hard for you, once you drop those stories, you're going to start seeing more of the possibilities that you can create in your life. And so actually, I would say, in a reflection of, I was out of the state for 2 weeks, visiting family on the East Coast. And it was such a good experience, because it got me away from my current life to just kind of like think for a minute, like just reflect on everything. And not that my current life is bad, but it was just like, it was like a pause in my current life to reflect, right? And I realized the stories that I had around money were not benefiting me. Even though I tend to be very mindful of how I talk about money, I realized that I was actually still telling myself stories that were holding me back. And I started doing a whole bunch of different, using a whole bunch of different tools I've learned for creating more money. And I actually created more money in the 2 weeks that came into my life than the past 2 months that I had been working hard to generate money. And that was kind of a real eye-opener for me, in the sense that I need to pay attention to my stories. And not just that, but I need to pause more than when I go on vacation. Vacation is nice because it really pulls you away from everything to pause. But even in the current life, in your current, where you're at in life, it's good to be able to take that pause to reflect and assess, so that you can, in this case, be mindful of what your stories are, be aware of them. The more you're aware of the things that you are, the things that are blocking you, the more you become aware of how you're blocking yourself, the more you're going to become aware of, I can change this, right? If you're not aware of it, you're not going to change it. So when you take a pause and assess, it helps you become aware. And once you're aware, you can be mindful of making a change. And when you're mindful of making that change and going through the change, it might feel challenging, but once you get to the other side of it, and it might not feel challenging, but if it does feel challenging, just remember, when you get to the other side of it, you're going to have this brand new, beautiful story of why you can do something and why you're going to be successful in your endeavors. And I think that's one of the biggest things that holds us back is, the fear of failure. I mean, I've heard that so many times, how people hold themselves back because they worried they're going to fail. And that usually comes from a story that they have in their head, versus it's kind of like this quote, why spend your time worrying about all the wrong reasons when you can spend your time worrying about all the right reasons? Why spend the time worrying you're going to fail when you haven't even started yet, versus thinking about the story of, but what if I succeed? What if I get it all right? What if I learn so much from it on the path of what I would like to do? Instead of worrying about the stories of failure, start worrying about the story, not worrying, but start considering the stories of success. Because when you start getting into that pattern, you're going to start feeling so much more excited about walking down that path and jumping towards that. We hold ourselves back because of the fear of failure, but you really don't have to worry about failing if it's not already happened. It's not happened. That means, sure, that could be a possibility, but that also means that it hasn't happened, so it might never happen. Just like the considering of success, sure, it might not have happened, but it's still possible that it could happen. So I mean, really take that into account. When you start shifting your stories, you're also going to start shifting your viewpoint, because you're going to start shifting into these more possible stories of, oh, I can do this. Oh, what if? Oh, what are my possibilities? And so I think I would say you're probably going to start approaching how you see that vision of what you would like to do. You're going to start approaching it differently, because you're going to see the possibilities of it rather than the fear of failure. Because there's infinite possibilities around everything, there's the possibility to fail and the possibility to succeed. And until it's completely defined, it's not happened. And sure, so your vision, you have this end idea of things that you would like to do, And so with that vision, sure, you may have failures along the way, but it's still completely possible to achieve a vision and succeed at it. And oftentimes, halfway to your vision, you might see a new vision. And that doesn't mean you failed at your vision. It just means you learned so much that you want to transition to something else. So for me, myself, actually, I'm considering transitioning my brand from What If Wishes to the Holistic Hippie RN, because I want to get more in touch with still being a nurse and doing a holistic practice. I love teaching people about healing modalities, whether it's spiritual, whether it's through your mindset, or whether it's physical. I mean, I will chat all day about stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm starting to go. My new path, my vision was all around energy healing. And now my vision has shifted, and it doesn't mean I failed. It means I've shifted and transitioned into rebranding and actually doing something that incorporates energy healing and so much more, And that's the fun part of it. It's that I still feel that I succeeded. So I want you to consider your stories. I want you to consider, what is it you're saying to put off what you would like to do? Or what is it you're saying to make an excuse to not do something? Because oftentimes, you're not taking the time to think about what is it you might be missing out on. And the other thing too is you never have to make up a story for an excuse. Just identify, will this bring me joy? Is this what I would like to do? And if it isn't, just be upfront about it. It's easier for you to be upfront than have a story. It's easier for you to create those positive stories by being mindful of what you truly want in your life. And I would say most of us truly want joy in our life, right? Things that make us happy is what we want more of. So when you consider things that you want to do, try and take the path of, will this bring me joy? And if it doesn't, just don't do it. And you don't need a story around it other than, I feel like there's something else that will bring me more joy. So anyways, that's kind of the different things I thought of today when I thought about reflecting on my summer. I reflected on the summer. I had an absolutely amazing summer, and now it's ending, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, ready to get back to work, ready to start my business again, ready to start doing stuff. So excited. I hope that you've had a wonderful summer and that you're so excited to start stepping into fall. It's actually not even August. It's the end of July, but it will cool down soon enough. And when it cools down, I'm so excited to step into fall. I'm so excited for those trees to change. Probably in the winter in Arizona, but everywhere else they change in the fall, and it's just one of the most beautiful things. So have a beautiful day, have a beautiful week, and I will be doing more of these, so I hope to talk more soon.